You know, it's been a long time since I had something to say. I told you what was going on, then I went away. Now it's been about a year, so I'm coming back to remind y'all what's going on here. Everything I said turned out to be true. All the lies in the media, the gaslighting you. There never really was a real pandemic, or there would have been people pushing wheelbarrows. Dead people in the streets, piled up to here. Dropping dead faster than we could conceive. Bodies piled up like the Spanish flu, but it wasn't like that, because they're lying to you. It's time to be awakening. Alright. It's a great awakening. Turns out there were no more deaths in 2020 than in previous years, counting all the other causes. They just moved the deaths from all the other columns, like flu and pneumonia. You know what they called them? They call them COVID deaths. They inflated the numbers to make us all afraid, separate your families to make us feel sad, isolate the children to make them feel bad, terrify them, then deny them basic human dignities they rely on. Human touch, smiling face, fresh air to breathe, a wide open space. Slap a mask on your little kid's face, staph infection all over the place. Why can't people see the fear they're in? This shit is straight up Luciferian. Shit. All right, so we are back. It is day 3 of 5 of this incredibly jaw-dropping deep dive into Altiyan Childs' 5.5-hour epic expose on Freemasonry and Satanism. I'm your host, Evan J. You're on the Evan J live stream. This is Wednesday, July 7th. Wow, 2021. And we're 3 days in today. We are about 2.5 hours into a amazing and incredible 5.5-hour presentation by this former X Factor Australia winner named Altiyan Childs, who apparently, after a car accident, near-death experience, and being awoken by kind of the hand of God, he says, at the last minute before his car that was being driven by a driver who had fallen asleep behind the wheel. This is eerily reminiscent of an experience that I had many years ago, but that's neither here nor there. I seem to have a lot in common with this guy. But the thing is, he has exposed one of the most shocking, what has been called a conspiracy theory for many, many years, and he's just, taken 5.5 hours to lay out his case, to show not dozens and not hundreds, but probably thousands of photos we've already seen already. I don't even know how many, of everyone you've ever imagined, everyone you've ever seen on a magazine cover, every world leader, from American world leaders to Ahmadinejad in Iran and Kim Jong-un doing the hidden hand. So there's a bunch of stuff that we learned, and these hand signs, okay? So I'm doing one in the cover image, okay, which I just want to really come out from the get-go here and hit a home run with my rebuke of Freemasonry and Satanism when I'm doing the hand signs or the silence oath, any kind of one-eyed symbolism, the satanic 666 thing that we learned yesterday, the hidden hand that Tony Fauci, among other people, do, and before they lie to the American public. All of these things are for instructive purposes, to show you what they are, so when you see them in, people are throwing these signs around, and the reason we've learned that people throw these signs is so they can recognize each other, that they're part of the club. And then what we are, who's not part of the club, are called the uninitiated and the vulgar and the profane. And we are called all kinds of other names too, but it's effectively because they're in on the secret and we are not, okay? So Altiyan Childs is pulling off the veils of deception in this presentation, and I am serving it up to you because some of you may never watch his video if I don't put it in my video. So that's why we're here, and that's why we're doing this. And there's so much news going on meanwhile that I wanted to cover, and it's been really difficult for me to just put a pin in the daily kind of taking apart of the propaganda and the stuff that I normally do here on the Evan J live stream now every day. But this is really important stuff. We're in a critical moment of peace right now, I think, before the, shit hits the fan, excuse the expression, but the audit results are about to come out, and the deep state is going hog wild right now in desperation. They're losing control of the narrative. They've lost control over the all the fake narratives that they have, okay? So why am I doing this week is because the scope of this, I would say, conspiracy, this isn't a conspiracy theory, this is an actual global conspiracy that's been going on for dozens and dozens of years already, that controls every lever of power and influence that we have. So celebrity and art and culture and politics, political leaders, thought leaders, even rebels. We see people like even Milo was throwing the hand signs, right? So like, has Milo Yiannopoulos rebuked Freemasonry? I know recently, Milo, you've rebuked gay behavior and stuff like that, and that's just between you and God. But have you rebuked Satan, or are you still a Satanist? Freemason, I'm curious about that. So what we're doing today in this video is we're 2.5 hours in, we're gonna cover another hour and 15 minutes today. And then, when there's the silent parts, I'll be speaking over that, and occasionally I may stop and interrupt and give some commentary in the middle. But generally I'm letting Altiyan make his presentation, and I'm only popping in, very rarely, and then talking over the long, silent slideshows, adding some commentary there. So a couple of quick announcements before we jump in. Welcome to my show. If you've just been finding it because of this content, or you've just found it recently, I want to show you the easiest way to stay connected with me is by signing up for my email list and going to my website, which is evantalks.com. So very easy to spell, evantalks.com. And once you're there, you'll find the email list right at the top. This is my Instagram page, which, by the way, Instagram page is at evantalks. And lately I have been, time dependent, cutting some clips from the show and posting them to Instagram, and they're getting views over there, which is great. So if you're coming over here from Instagram, I want to welcome you to the show. Just realize that the clips that go up on Insta are like 1 to 2 weeks behind what we're actually covering every day on the live stream, and it's really to hopefully grab some other eyeballs and some of my followers from these legacy platforms and try and bring them over to what we're doing now. So my website, evantalks.com, just sign up for this email list right at the top of the page, and you'll get a daily or a nightly email from me with a link to that day's replay. Okay, and if you're on the fly and you're just looking for the replays and you want to get them fast, just come to evantalks.com, scroll down to where it says watch the replays on Rumble, and just tap that button right there, and it'll launch my Rumble channel. Okay, and that'll show you everything that you can see. So like, you'll see these parts 1 and 2 are already there. Part 3 will be up by about 6 o'clock tonight. It's just after 3 p.m. Pacific right now, and that's when we do this live stream every day at 3 p.m. Pacific. And you can watch and chat live right from evantalks.com too. B to the G is in the house. What is up, my brother? I'm happy to see you here. And so notice, if you come to the website, you can chat live, and I can display your chat on the screen. And on Friday, we're going to do a lot of that. So today during the presentation, feel free to comment as much as you like. I may not throw them up on the screen during Altiyan's slideshow presentations, but when I'm ultimately doing my own commentary, I'll start to catch up if I miss a bunch of comments, and that's how we'll get the rhythm going today. So I want to jump into this presentation because we have a long way to go. So let me put on the frame there, kind of change some of the colors today to keep it fresh. So we have learned that everyone is a Freemason, and Freemasonry is really carefully cloaked, multiple layer upon layer of deception, cloaking the ultimate reveal that the higher power that is being worshipped is Lucifer himself, the son of morning, with the 666 sign and all of that stuff. So, you know, I've watched this several times, and my jaw is continually on the floor. So if you're anything like me, you can't wait to keep going into this. So let's dive in. It's 3:10 now. We're going to go 2 hours and 15 minutes in. So again, the shows this week are stretching a little longer. They'll probably be, yesterday's went over 2 hours. Hopefully we'll get out sooner today, but let's see what gets revealed and how much commentary is necessary. And I've been feeling the need to preach the gospel at the end of these episodes to further bring in Jesus Christ and rebuke the negative influences that might even come around just from showing all these hand signs. Okay, so anyway, let's get into it, see what Altiyan has to say today. We're starting at the 2 hour and 30-second mark. Actually, yeah, here's the end of the last slideshow that he did. And I'm just fast forwarding. This was showing the difference. Now, remember this child star? I don't know who this child star is. If anyone knows who this is, throw it up in the comments. But I'm going to start the video here. This is about 30 seconds before where we ended up last night, actually. So we're almost done with this, and then Altiyan's going to start speaking. And you may see my video here kind of come and go a little bit. I want the focus to really be on Altiyan Childs in his presentation. But I also want you to know I'm here watching with you and I'm not going anywhere. So day 3 of 5 of the Altiyan Childs Deep Dive begins right now on the Evan J live stream. Masonic lodges in every city in America. Very interesting. What's underneath? Organized Satanism. So we continue.
There is a fork in the road that's approaching you, and you can stay on the path which curves to the left by denying the existence of Satanism in the fullness that you've been shown. Or you can surrender to the truth and take the right-hand path. Now, where that road could lead is the sweetest risk you'll ever take. Are you still pretending that this one-eye religion of Freemasonry isn't Luciferianism? See, this here is the biggest obstacle you'll ever face. The very thing that could lead you to the prize is the very thing that will keep you from it. The reality of international Satanism. In the shadow of Christianity, Satanism has always been there. With every church that sprung up, so did its invisible enemy, the Satanic Church, growing out of sight and out of mind from this to this. And Christianity has long been deprived of its power, as clearly demonstrable by the absolute lack of preaching against the institution of Freemasonry. Satanism's magic cloak, Satanism's magic trick, that's Freemasonry. And how they are laughing for now. So Freemasons are now at the helm of the power structure of society, which means Satanism rules. And they're making their move for the new order of the ages. Are you that besotted by this evil world that you'll even deny the existence of secret societies? And what about the American president, John Kennedy? Was he just a nut job like me? warning us about an international secret society with an international secret plot, a Freemason trying to tell you and the world about Freemasonry. Shot through the head. I've shown you who they are. I've shown you how they successfully operate with degrees of initiations and horrific and illegal oaths of secrecy. And I've shown you why they are a secret society. I've proven it to you. And only now that I've done that, I can show you in this many minutes what the shocking new order that Freemasonry has so cautiously been guiding us toward actually looks like. And of course you won't believe that either. By now there's a 98.5% chance that you belong to the world. And in that case, the world can do, will do, and is doing whatever the hell it wants to with you. And when all you have is the world, you'll do anything to hold on to it. Christian or not, most of you will follow this world straight to the slaughterhouse in the name of peace, safety, and progress.
You know I gotta jump in there, because it's like, just wear your mask, just get your sarsaparilla, right? If you don't watch the show normally and you don't know what I mean when I'm saying sarsaparilla, I'm saying that. I think although my camera might be reversed and that might be backwards. Long story there, but if it goes in a thing and it gets put in here that way, it's a sarsaparilla. And if the government tells you to do it and you'll just do it because you're being told, or like Dr. Fauci with his hidden hand telling everybody that even if you got the sarsaparilla, you should still wear a mask because somehow you're gonna protect other people. Did you ever stop to think, why is he telling the people who got the sarsaparilla, who are supposed to be fully protected, to go ahead and keep covering up because you're going to protect someone else? It doesn't make any sense at all until you realize that he is talking to the people that he knows for a fact have fallen for his deception, his previous deception, and that will listen to him when he's giving them further deception, okay? So if they listen to him first because they ran and got the sarsaparilla, and they listened to him before that because they wore 1 or 2 masks, just because he said so, and then they ran and got that sarsaparilla, and now they're still wearing masks, then he knows that if he keeps telling them to do stuff, they'll keep doing what he says. And that is what Altiyan is saying, is that if you belong to the world, they can do whatever they want with you, and they're already doing whatever they want with you. Okay, do you see what I'm saying there? It's like, if you belong to the world, meaning if you belong, I belong to Jesus, okay? Because it's the afterlife that I'm way more concerned with than what happens here for the rest of my life. Hopefully is a long life that will be fruitful and prosperous, hopefully. But if not, I don't care. I'm not going to trade my eternal soul so I can get on some magazine cover and get idolized by other people. That's disgusting, right? It's disgusting. And people who do that because they need that, and they hate God because, you know when I really came to to take that extra leap of faith all the way to Jesus, when I was raised a Jew and I kind of became a yogi. How did I get to Jesus? It's like, because when I realized how real Satan actually is to all these people, okay, I realized that if Satan is real to them and they hate God so much, then God must be real, must be. Otherwise they wouldn't make Satan so real, okay? You can't have one without the other. So that's why it's like you got to choose sides, and you're either for Jesus or you're against Jesus. And so all of these things that Altiyan isn't really talking about, but are kind of coming awake for me, and the lights are going on as I'm learning all this different stuff. It's really fascinating, really fascinating. Okay, so let's continue.
Clinging to it, because all you love is inside it. Blissfully ignoring people like me warning you of who's really in charge of it. Men, women, actors, singers, businessmen, and politicians, all interlocked, whose God is named Lucifer. You've seen it with your own eyes. But now you can hear it with your own ears from this 33-degree Freemason in person, just in case the Masonic literature wasn't enough for you.
Okay, define Lucifer for me.
Pure, virtuous, wholesome, innocent individual that's out to help people.
Lucifer is?
Yeah.
Say that again. Lucifer is a pure, holy,
Virtuous.
virtuous. Now, is he the Lucifer that God created?
That's the same one.
Oh man, this is great. I'm going to put this on the internet.
Oh,
Amen.
God bless you,
Amen.
brother.
Because that's exactly what the Shriners and Masons teach, is that Lucifer is light.
No.
And you're,
What
you're
about those
confirming it.
hospitals?
You know what, sir? Jesus said, many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, we did not do these good deeds in your name? And you'll say, away from me, you workers of iniquity, I never knew you.
Jesus said it?
In Matthew chapter 5.
You've been bred from childhood to fall for the biggest lie ever told, that Satan doesn't exist. And if Satan doesn't exist, well then neither does Jesus. And while your heroes and idols know full well that they do exist. And when I say you've been bred from childhood, I mean just that. Walter Disney was a high-ranking Freemason. He is a Masonic stamp dedicated to him, and his very exclusive Club 33, which stands for the 33 degrees of Freemasonry. And who's the god of the 33rd degree Freemason, Walt Disney? Well, Walter hides the answer in plain sight, because that's what Freemasons do. Firstly, the god of Mr. Disney is wicked. See how they veil evil with a cloak of innocence? What does the word veil itself conceal? Secondly, Walter's god is horny, symbolized by the horned god of the witches. And we all know Walt Disney loves magic, which is witchcraft. So the depictions of sex are hidden in plain sight as well. Remember, lust produces life, not love. So lust is purity, lust is love for the high degree Freemason. And thirdly, he hides the number of his God's name in the open as well. No, that's not a 666 you're seeing interwoven in the design. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Not even when they separate the sixes from the name, all three of them, and place them together for you like this, in plain sight. No, not even then will people see. Do you think things are any better 50 years later? Here's the eye of Lucifer in the Nickelodeon channel, and his lightning flash. Remember what they actually believe about Satan. From Freemason Helena Blavatsky's book, The Secret Doctrine, meaning the secret belief. Who is Satan? He is the angel who was proud enough to believe himself God, brave enough to buy his independence at the price of eternal suffering and torture, beautiful enough to have adored himself in full divine light, strong enough to still reign in darkness amidst agony. Helena Blavatsky is suggested as recommended reading by the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry right here. And the Grand Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry, speaking of Lucifer, Satan and the Devil on page 407, writes that to the initiate, the devil is the instrument of liberty or free will. That's who Lucifer is to them, okay? To show you how little you know of who you're dealing with, and the extent of this religion's influence and power, not to mention their plans, let me jump ahead for a minute. Watch this. This is Lucius Trust. The Lucius Trust is a non-for-profit service organization incorporated in the United States in 1922, and their objective, from Lucius Trust website, dedicated to the establishment of a new and better way of life for everyone in the world, based on the fulfillment of the divine plan for humanity. The divine plan. A new way of life. Like a new world system. Like a new order. Now you want to see who they work for? The Lucius Trust has consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations. The United Nations, the UN. They consult the United Nations of the world. They advise the United Nations of the world. Now look at this. The Lucius Trust's publishing company was founded in the early 1920s as Lucifer Publishing Company. The Lucius Trust says that the name was probably chosen to honor Lucifer. What on earth does a modern day consultant to the most powerful and progressive force engaged in uniting all nations under one banner, the UN, have to do with the fallen angel of the Holy Bible? The one that Jesus Christ told us would manifest on earth as a world ruler, to deceive the whole world into a new world system.
Is this weird or what, you guys? Is it weird or what? I mean, why was the HR, the House resolution that was passed for contact tracing and basically allowing them to look at where everyone is doing and who they're associating with and getting into everyone's business, was like HR 6666? You know, why are all these things happening that you can actually open the book of Revelation right now and you can read and see things happening? Why is there this trust called the Lucifer Publishing Company working with the United Nations? A lot of coincidences, right? A lot of coincidences. Let's keep watching.
It's that angel. Why on earth would they honor that angel? Well, that's easy. They were founded by Freemasons. Incorporated into the United States by Alice Bailey and her husband, Foster. Well, here's a book written by Foster the Freemason, The Spirit of Freemasonry, published by Lucius Press, also known as Lucifer Publishing.
So that's
One last thing.
Full circle. Do you see, when I say that he's making a meticulous presentation, it's this kind of stuff that I'm talking about, okay? He's piecing together all the pieces, and he's like, okay, well, this person and this person were involved in this, and then they try to deny that they're involved, and he's like, but look, you can see right here in the Freemason book, it mentions their names, they were Freemasons. Like, this guy is doing good work, revealing all of this stuff and all of these connections for all of us who would never, ever, ever, we would never see this stuff, ever, if it wasn't for something like this. That's why I'm taking the whole week to show it, and, you know, just, it doesn't even matter really who this guy is. I know he's got a story of his own. We're all imperfect beings, but like, just keep looking at the information as he keeps unfolding it and serving it up, and we make our own decisions, okay?
If you dig a little, you'll find an article on their website, The Esoteric Meaning of Lucifer, on a modern company website with consultative powers to the United Nations of all things. Wow, I really hope you're seeing this. In the article, it states that the Baileys had enormous respect for H.P. Blavatsky, who stated in her renowned occult book, The Secret Doctrine, on page 245, in a chapter called Holy Satan. It is Satan who is the God of our planet and the only God. Then the article goes on to say that the Baileys sought to elicit a deeper understanding of the sacrifice made by Lucifer. Everything has been reversed. Evil is good, Jesus is the enemy, and Lucifer sacrificed himself for you, not Jesus Christ, the one who washed the feet of his disciples and the only one they fear. Modern progressive atheists do not influence world events, people. Satanists do. Remember the goal of the Lucius Trust? The fulfillment of the divine plan for humanity. Yeah, the divine plan exposed by Jesus Christ in the Gospels. Hence their war on the Bible and the abolition of it from the school system, and even from modern Christian churches who dare not preach from the book of Revelation. Your most highly evolved and contemporary leaders of society secretly believe that in the theosophical perspective, the descent of these solar angels was not a fall into sin or disgrace, but rather an act of great sacrifice. They believe in the fallen angels and their revolt against God as revealed in the Bible, led by the devil, the chief commander of Freemason Bob Dylan, remember? These people make contact with these fallen angels with the royal art of Freemasonry called witchcraft. Please stick around. Let me show you that. How many solar angels does the Bible say followed Lucifer out of this heavenly realm? a third of the angels makes 33%. Does that number sound familiar yet? 33 degrees of Freemasonry. Just a coincidence? From the Gospels again, which expose these people every time. Do not let anyone who delights in false humility and the worship of angels, and who has access to some visionary world, beguile you, trick you of your reward. You still don't believe that the false humility of the charitable fraternity of the Freemasons is behind it all? Well, Blavatsky also published a magazine called Lucifer with a woman named Annie Besant. And here's a letter written by Annie herself with the official Masonic letterhead. And here Annie signs off as a 33rd degree Freemason. Printed also in the left-hand corner, Annie Besant, 33rd degree, and a member of the Supreme Council. Undeniable and undisputable. Please don't make me prove it to you over and over. Have you caught a glimpse of who you're dealing with yet? They're all Freemasons, high-ranking. And they're all buffeted by a plethora of Masonic dupes who don't know any of this because they can't decipher the symbols and they don't care to try. They're proud and boastful and defensive of their beloved fraternity, in which they get to rub shoulders with the most important people of their suburbs, cities and towns, and in which they got on their knees to take blood oaths of death, calling other old decrepitated men worshipful master. Yet still they think it's innocent and has nothing to hide. Delusional and lost, almost beyond hope. Some of them still think it's a Christian organization, just like the founder of the satanic church described. What do you get when you carefully conceal Satanism with Christianity? You get Freemasonry. People, Satanism is at the core of our world, and it is behind the new order that will be implemented soon enough.
It's kind of shocking, right? So what he's saying here is that the lower degrees of Freemasonry are cloaked in Christianity, and yesterday he went in through the Freemason higher degree books and showed you in some of the Satanism books and stuff how it talks about the cloaking and the careful and the trappings. They say the trappings of Christianity because they want to trap people at the lower levels who could never see the actual truth, but bring them in and strengthen the fraternity and strengthen the order. They must pay dues and stuff, so they get money coming in from everyone. And the access of being a lower level Mason and rubbing shoulders with the higher level Masons and thinking that you're in this club, but not realizing that you're just kind of one of the useful idiots for them, because then you get to go and brag, you know, about how you went to these parties and you met this person and this leader and this celebrity, and you get selfies or whatever you do. And you don't realize that at the higher levels, they're doing witchcraft and they're doing really dark stuff, and they're using you as one of their many layers of cloaking to hide from the world. And some of those lower layers involve all of the charity, and that's what he's calling like the you know, they're giving charity, and they're like, it's false humility. So it's like they're pretending to care and maybe start a children's organization and fund it, but at the higher levels they're actually using that to recruit children in that they can steal and traffic for their dark satanic rituals and sacrifices. It's really crazy. So let me let's get back to Altiyan and let him keep unfolding for you.
It will be all done through deception. You'll be tricked. Remember how I told you that the all-seeing eye sees that we're in hell? Well, the massive witch and Freemason Helena says so right here. Satan is the minister of God, Lord of the seven mansions of Hades, the angel of the manifest worlds. Hades means hell, manifest worlds means earth. This is who you're dealing with. This is the religion and the beliefs of the rich, powerful and famous. And yes, politicians. Do you want to go back to sleep? You can sleep after this. But wait till I show you what they're going to do to you, coming up in this many minutes. For those who simply refuse to believe that Bono or Scott Morrison or Prince can be Luciferians, because they all go to church. Let me show you another Masonic ritual they do. And this is before Satanism or Luciferianism is revealed to the candidate. And then you tell me if Bono or Scott are capable of secretly believing in Lucifer. It all starts here with the Masonic apron. Different kinds signifying different grades.
Looks like the Gmail.
Have you guessed what it's hiding yet? The genitals. Pretty obvious. Like everything else they hide, once you can see. The genitals are the true working tools of a Mason. Freemasonry is foundationally a sex cult, like Satanism, because it all starts with sex, doesn't it? Life itself starts with sex. So the mystical force of the true God of Freemasonry hides in the hidden part of the human body. That's the Holy of Holies, covered by the Masonic apron, the seat of God, the seat of Lucifer. See here with Satanist King Diamond's artwork? The eye is attached to the horn god, but look at where the eye starts, from the waist down. That's where the apron of a Mason begins. And the one eye of Freemasonry is also the one eye of the penis, where life generates and springs forth. See the openly hidden secret of the Masonic square and compass now? You're looking at the sex act. That's the female in missionary position, and that's the male mounting her. The sex act. And the eye in the middle, with these emanating rays, is the orgasm and the ejaculation of the penis. See life shooting forth. That's how they see the sun and the earth too. The sun is the visible penis of their true God, shooting forth life continually. The light itself is the mystical sperm of the God of this world. The sun and penis generate life, while the earth and female womb produce life. The letter G, when replacing the I in the middle of the square and compass, stands for generation, sexual generation. The practical aspect of Freemasonry and Satanism's religion is that of a sex cult. You see Rod Stewart telling you he's a Freemason? By displaying the hidden hand of Freemasonry, also known as the Master of the Second Veil, and look at his other hand, taking the Masonic apron's place for covering his penis, which is the Holy of Holies, the seat of God for the Mason. And from the Grand Pontiff of Freemasonry, Albert Pike, hence the significancy of the phallus, the penis, or of its inoffensive substitute, the obelisk. Straight from the horse's mouth, the erect penis graces us, or should I say disgraces us, with its presence in every country in the world, marking its territory. The Masonic obelisk in our face, everywhere, making its bold statement, yelling, screaming in silence. This is another reason why we're considered the ignorant and stupid masses. Another example of hidden in plain sight. And here's an erect penis on the front page of the female Freemasonry magazine, The Eastern Star. I once stood in front of this obelisk in Sydney, and I must have asked 30 people what they thought it was. Not a single one of them knew. To the Freemasons of the higher degrees, the whole universe is in fact one giant and continuous sex act. This is the structure of Freemasonry. You can take this path to the top or this path. And way up here, you have the Order of the Mystic Shrine. The Mystic Shrine is what's found behind the Masonic apron, because that's where life comes from. That's the Mystic Shrine. You have to be a 32nd degree Freemason to be asked to join the Order of the Mystic Shrine. And then, once you're inside, you can be invited to join this order, the Royal Order of Jesters. See, Freemasonry is like Russian dolls, and Satanism is at its center. Look at some of the pins and lapel designs for the Order of the Jesters. You can only join them unless you're at least a 32nd degree Freemason. Sex and debauchery. Erections. The adoration of the phallus. Masturbation. Devils. Demons. Fallen angels. This one here, mocking holiness, reference to the anus, and sodomy, anything to mock the Bible. This disgusting one has King Momus sitting on a female's face, and hidden in plain sight is the square and the compass, for those who have eyes to see. Bestiality, yes indeed.
Isn't this insane, you guys? I have to stop. This is insane. So you get all the way to the top, power and glory and celebrity and magazine covers and world leaders and, you know, the hidden hand and lying on TV and keep the secret and the all-seeing eye and the big stage and the 666. And then when you get to the top, it's just jesters and joking and strippers and sex and debauchery hidden, right? Because at the highest level, they realize that they still have these demonic, devilish, dirty, human, vile drives, like sex, that drives everything. And so all of their secret society stuff and all their secrets are like about that. I always wondered why in the secret societies, like, it always came down to like this sex cult initiation, and it's like, why do they have to do it with all the masks and the secrecy and all that stuff when you just go and have an orgy with a bunch of people if you want to have sex with a bunch of people, okay? But like, this is crazy now, looking at all these little pins and things, and it's like the court of jesters, and they're all in on the joke. It's like first they're in on the secret, and when you get to the very top, you're just getting lap dances and you're just in on the joke. It's just, it's crazy. This is the whole fucking world we live in. Unbelievable.
This bagpipe player has an erection and the sheep is running away scared. Self-explanatory.
Oh my god.
This character has an emphasized eye, if you can see that, and the skull has an emphasized eye also. The wink and the one eye of the Indian. And the secrecy, the symbols of secrecy. On the far right here, the monkey covers his groin area, symbolizing the Masonic apron, and the black and white dogs, well, they symbolize the checkered floorboard of the Masonic Lodge, which is sexualized male and female principles, the horned god, where evil and good don't exist. And in the first degree, Masons are given a Bible stamped with a square and compass, oblivious to the inherent mockery and the foundation of the whole fraternity, as alluded to here with a genuine Royal Order of Jesters private lapel. This is a certificate that a jester receives after his initiation, and you see here their patron is named King Momus, and he was a god, or a daemon, which is a variant of the word demon, who was expelled from heaven, as the legend goes. Sounds just like Lucifer, because it is. Did Freemasonry disassociate themselves from the tax-exempt branch of Freemasonry known as the Jesters? Well, no, they didn't, because, I mean, this is rare footage of an event within the lodge. Now, I'm sorry about the quality of this, but this is a Masonic lodge. So for Masons that want to say that the Jesters are contrary to Masonry, well, look at these dirty old men, masters of the lodge, with sublime morals, all married, probably all have daughters and granddaughters, yet still this, inside the lodge. But for you it should be obvious, because you can see the square and compass, the sex act, and the all-seeing eye right in the middle.
It's almost
I told you that Satanism was the oldest religion in the world, and it is. The sex act was ritualized and organized as a religion before we called it Satanism. But Satan has always been the god, the horny god, the horned god of these sex cults. All of them, from Samaria to Egypt to Greece and so on, that's called paganism. And the real Bible of the Freemasons and the pagans, the one not written by hand, the one that's older than any book, the one that supersedes all the rest in age, thus making it the purest and most unadulterated word of God in the eyes of the Freemasons, is nature. Nature is their Bible. And before you think there's nothing wrong with that, wait a second, because you're not thinking straight. Ask a Mason, whether he be a first degree or a 33rd degree, what is Freemasonry? And the universal go-to answer is this: a peculiar system of morality, veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. Now, why would you need to veil your morals? Because in their peculiar system, evil is good and good is evil. That's Satanism 101. A peculiar system of morals. That should tell you something. That should tell you everything. Why would your morals need to be a secret? Because their deeds are in fact evil. Glorifying the laws of nature, where cruelty and self-obsession are virtuous characteristics. That's nature. Nature is as cruel as she is kind. The checkered floorboard, where everything is legal. It's Christianity that lives in reverse. The first shall be last. Love your enemies. The meek shall inherit the earth. These are unholy and unnatural concepts in the eyes of visible nature, the nature of Freemasonry, which is Satanism. What the Freemasons really mean by this morality veiled in allegory is that they're allowed to steal because nature allows it. They're allowed to kill because nature allows it. They're allowed to commit adultery because nature isn't monogamous. They're allowed to lie, indulge in all their God-given senses, especially sexual, because nature encourages it, as long as no one finds out, under oath. Jesus said, narrow is the road that leads to life, and broad is the road that leads to destruction. The Freemason of the century says, no true Mason can be narrow, for his lodge is the divine expression of all broadness. Because broad are the divine laws of nature. While they glorify those laws, Christianity breaks those laws. It becomes supernatural, because only then can you love your enemy. And so it goes that Christianity is despised by Freemasonry, the real Freemasons, because their Bible is nature, and by nature they know the personality traits of their god Satan, because he's the god of this world, just as the Freemasons, the enemies of mankind, say that he is, and just like Jesus said he was too. So they believe that Jesus is evil because he denies human nature and burdens us with the knowledge of sin. Observable nature, that's what guides the Masons' ethics and the Masons' morals. That's why they're called Freemasons. Believe you me, because they're free from moral obligations, free from sin, from guilt. They're free from Jesus Christ.
That's deep. I did not realize that, and that is a really deep and good point. Like, everything's twisted around. So, like, you know, the true reward is the kingdom of heaven. It's not all the riches in this world. Goes against nature. Nature's survival of the fittest and kill or be killed. And so it starts to make sense as he starts to put all of these pieces together. It starts to make sense, like why they think the way that they do. And if you're, last week I showed, and you can see this on my Instagram, a clip from John McAfee before he died, and he actually posed the question, what part is it in the human being that uses power? If you give the human being power, what part of that human being uses the power? And he's like, is it the compassionate, loving, graceful? He didn't say Christian, but basically saying, is it the Christian side of the person? No. It's the other. It's the one that wants to dominate and control and use and take. That's the part of human beings that want power. So if you look at politicians, you look at celebrities, you look at influencers, you look at models and stuff like that, they want power and they want glory. And Christians, we give all the glory to God. God created the whole universe. God created all of us with free will, but not for us to forget that we were actually created and given this amazing gift. So if you're against God, you want to say, well, this is mine. I'll do with it whatever I want. I don't have to give the glory to God. I want the glory, right? Or you give the glory to Lucifer, apparently, who says to you, he'll help you, because everyone else who follows him will help you if you follow him also. And he's like, well, all these people are following me, so if you follow me, all these people are going to be on your side, and then you're going to feel like you're in the right and everyone else in the wrong. So that's why the uninitiated masses like you and me are called vulgar and profane. We're uninitiated. We're not part of the secret. We're not part of the joke now on the jester side. Unbelievable, but it really starts to make sense, like the more he puts it together. So I hope that this is, I hope this is worth all the time I'm putting into revealing it this week. I really think it is, and I hope a lot of people watch these replays. That's all. Because this is stuff I think the world needs to know, and then we can decide, okay, what are we going to do about it, but at least we know. And this is like, I really appreciate material like this that kind of says, look, you think you're living in a world that goes by certain rules, but let me pull back the veil of deception, the hidden hand, pull it back, and show you the world that you're really living in and the rules that really people are following that are in charge. So let's go back to it.
These people are introducing this new system of the world, this new age. You're going to miss Christianity when it's gone. Mark my words. Because you have no rights in the eyes of nature, which is the Bible of Freemasonry and Satanism. And soon that will become painfully plain as a fact of life. Now please, I give you fair warning of what's to come in this presentation. It's very disturbing, or at least it should be. But cause to celebrate follows the disgusting things you're about to see. This is precisely where my own life and well-being come into danger. So let me say this right now. If you hear of my sudden death, or of my possession of 0.5 kilogram of cocaine or child porn, or my overdose or my suicide, remember this video. And if something so unfortunate should happen to me, may it serve as a catapult to you and as a remembrance of the conclusion to this presentation, which is this many minutes away. Do I really think they're going to make me pay for this video, for breaking my oaths? Well, seeing as people are so far gone, lost in the illusion that secret societies have constructed around you and inside you, and seeing as they can simply pull this video down, close my account and whatnot, no, I don't think they'll come after me. But if they do, let me say this to the Grand Lodge that orders my demise right now. Jesus wins. So in saying all that, here we go. Is Scott Morrison a Satanist?
All right, before we go into this, I'm just looking at the running time. So we're coming up on 3 hours. We started at 2.5. We're going to go 45 more minutes of this presentation today. And that'll keep us on track for the whole week deep dive, okay? So I may pop in. Let's see what we're going to see over these next 45 minutes. But it looks like he's about to take us even deeper. And that's what he's done every day. It's like he presents for, a little while. And then he's like, okay, now I've kind of told you all about this. I've showed you these hand signs. Now look. And then he shows you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of images of everyone you've ever heard of doing those signs. And then the next day, he did the same thing. He's like, well, do you know what those signs really mean? They really signify Lucifer and Satan. And then he shows all the people doing the signs and then wearing shirts at the same time that say 666 on it or have the word evil on it. And so he's like, is it really a coincidence when their shirt says what the sign says? And it's still in everybody's face and people still aren't getting it. So today now he's saying he is about to reveal the new world order vision in what everyone's been working for and working towards, that is part of this organized sex and power cult. And here's what he's going to reveal to us, okay? So that's what he says he's going to do, and now let's do it.
I'll let you answer that. Here is a ritual that Scott and every Freemason from this guy to this girl have performed. There is one Masonic apron you'll never see being worn. This one. And when I bumped into it, I thought it was a fake. Until I found this in Richardson's Monitor of Freemasonry, official Masonic literature, written for Masons only. On this page, what is that head doing there? You'll find out in a sec. Let's read the description of the apron worn in this degree. Speaking of the initiates, it states, they wear white aprons sprinkled with blood red and lined and bordered with black. On the flap of the apron, a bloody arm holding a dagger, and on the apron, a bloody arm holding a bloody head by the hair. Now this is why there's an illustration of a decapitated head. And this is going to become to a bone-chilling conclusion. So during this ritual, the candidate removes the blindfold and discovers a basin of water with a tumbler beside it. He is also astonished to find a human head lying on the floor. The master of ceremonies returns and directs the candidate to take up the knife in his right hand and the head in his left. Yes, this pope, this rock star, this pop star, this actor, this actress, and this beloved Prime Minister. This is what they've done. All of them, hands down. And you thought all you needed to be is talented to succeed? No, you need to belong to the secret society called Freemasonry. And believe me, when you belong to them, you belong to them. Now you tell me, can these people end up believing in Lucifer? Is that really a stretch? Carrying around a bloody head? Swearing to have your brain cooked, tongue torn out from the roots if you ever reveal anything? No, the stretch is that you think they couldn't believe in Lucifer. That's the stretch. Lucifer, the one who sets you free, remember, from sin by sinning. Can you now see the bloody spirit of Freemasonry lurking behind the veneer of charity and the veneer of Christianity? Because Scott Morrison goes to church, apparently. The Pope is a Christian, apparently. But look at these people. So-called Christians, or Christians, gathered around a giant erect phallus in the middle of the Catholic square. This is Freemasonry, the demolition of morals, the creation of hypocrisy, and the demolition of true virtue. These minds are directing the future. Now, to be fair, I don't know if these heads are real heads. I never got that far to find out. But I will tell you this. All the skulls they use they're real. All the skeletons they use they're real. And they run every single noteworthy funeral home in Australia and the world. I know that personally and for a fact. Once again, you are only seeing the tip of the iceberg.
That is insane. Another fact that evaded me. I do remember hearing him say that when I watched this before, but when you watch this multiple times, other things kind of pop out. He just said that the Freemasons control all the funeral homes because it's like that would obviously give them control of being able to get rid of bodies whenever they needed to. It would also be able to allow them to gain access to body parts like human bones and skulls that they need for their rituals and stuff. It's really weird.
Because I can't bring myself to tell you about what I really know of the rituals that come after the 33rd degree Freemasonry. For as much as they celebrate life in various grotesque ways, they also celebrate death in ritual form. Which are the things I can't speak of to you. They have to celebrate death in order to prove that they can see things through the all-seeing eye. The one that sees above evil and above good. The checkered floorboard, where things kill each other to live. Where life is cruel, where morals are broad. There is no sin. There is only nature. See, these Masonic rituals are designed to desensitize the candidate further and further in preparation for the raw truth of Satanism. The truth which is plainly stated by the Grand Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry. Lucifer is the light bearer, and that you should doubt it not, from their own literature and from their own mouths. Until finally the candidate's introduction into the royal art of Freemasonry, witchcraft. The ancient craft. Why do you think that witchcraft has disappeared? It never disappeared. It was hidden.
I always wondered about that too. Another good point. If they're practicing it in these secret societies and everyone's part of it, and they have it being done right under the surface, like at the Chateau Marmont and stuff like that, then how would we know? But now we're seeing witchcraft coming back and being put in a lot of shows, a lot of Netflix stuff, and like he showed yesterday, Stevie Nicks, part of this witch show. So it's like they seem to make it disappear on the earth, but they really brought it into secret, and now they're kind of bringing it back out because they control everything now.
Forced to go into hiding by the appearance of Jesus on the human scene. Another reason why he's passionately hated, and soon him and his ways will be done away with in this new world, and so will your rights. You still don't believe me? You're still doubting all the evidence, like the Freemasons are counting on you to doubt? Well, remember from the Encyclopedia of American Religions, the continuing impact of speculative modern Freemasonry provided fertile soil in which new magical orders could grow. Watch this 2-minute clip. I can vouch for every single thing you hear come from the former Masons' mouths.
In the initiation in Freemasonry, we had to be recommended by another Mason.
Well, in order to join witchcraft, you have to be first screened. You have to be recommended by somebody currently in witchcraft.
Well, when I was initiated, I was blindfolded and bound by a rope, and on your bare chest was thrust the point of a spear.
In witchcraft, we were initiated through a very involved ritual, initiation ceremony, wherein the candidate was led blindfolded, bound by a rope to the edge of the magic circle.
And the rope is around your neck and you're leaned forward. And up front, at the eastern end of the building, is a person who's a worshipful master. And you kneel down before him as if he were a god.
You were met by the high priest or high priestess at that time, usually with a sword to your chest.
When I went to enter the lodge, a sharp object was put to my left breast. And I was warned that should I reveal any of the secrets of Freemasonry, to know what to expect.
When you're presented before the high priest, a sword is held against your chest, and you actually take a blood oath, promising to remain faithful to the secrets of witchcraft.
Well, when you are in the room, this blindfold is taken away from you, and this is a time when they say that you're coming from darkness into light.
During the initiation ceremony, the initiate is led by the lieutenant of the high priest and is challenged at the edge of the circle by someone saying, "Who goes there?" And the answer is, "One from the world of darkness."
In Masonry, the prayers are ended with "So mote it be."
Oh, and one of the other aspects of, or distinctives of the craft was that we would always end any spell or ritual where we released the power, this is where the power was released, with the word "So mote it be."
By now this should sound like a stupid question, but why do you think that the initiation ceremonies into witchcraft are almost identical to that of Freemasonry? I'm not even going to answer that. Come on, people, wake up with me. Here's Kylie Minogue, a Freemason, okay? Hidden hand of Freemasonry and the one-eye symbolism of the god of her religion. Now here she is giving the vow of silence, but what the masses fail to see is what's written on the book she's holding. Witchcraft, the royal art of Freemasonry. This is what her vow of silence is referring to in the picture. Yes, Kylie Minogue is a witch. And if you're still that deluded by the magic wand that is television, entertainment, movies, media and whatnot, then you'll no doubt fail to use the incredible eyes that God gave you, from which to see the real world with, the evil world, where Satanists are at the helm. The ban on witchcraft was only officially lifted in England in the 50s, after more than 1500 years. So that tells you who's in control now. And when I give you a glimpse into witchcraft in a minute, you'll see why it's evil. And why it should be anything but legal, even when using it for so-called good, because the well they draw from is poisoned. But thanks to propaganda, the craft of the witch has been absorbed into the realm of fantasy.
This is really important. I'm going to be talking about this, maybe not in the closing comments today, but this is a concept I'm going to be talking about a lot going forward, because where does the power draw from? And is there any such thing as good witchcraft? Like, I always believed that there was. I always considered myself to be a good witch. I have had a lot of experiences going through dark, demonic times in my past, right? So like all of this led me to healing path, and a lot of what people call, you know, witchy and pagan practices were really helpful to me when I was coming off all these pharmaceutical drugs and coming off the hard drug abuse that I was talking about yesterday. And at some point, right, I think when they made church singing illegal, I finally decided it was time for me to go read the actual Bible and start reading the New Testament, because if they were going to make it illegal, but they still allowed the strip clubs to be open and the liquor stores, but it was deemed too dangerous to have church singing and worship. Like, everyone wakes up at a different time, but that was like, boom, that woke me right up. And I realized, okay, there's a war against God. Everything the Christians said were true. They're really coming after God. There's no other logical or reasonable explanation, and trying to cloak it in some virus or some whatever, that was just some big bunch of bullshit that didn't resonate with me, not even for 1 second, okay? So like, it runs you to the, you know, to the Bible, and then I start to read, and when you read the actual Bible and you're reading the Word of God, oh my God, right? Like, all these things that you think you know about the Bible and what happened, you realize, like, well, wait a minute. I'm reading it now, and it doesn't seem to be saying what people told me that it said. And, like, that just starts one thing after another. Now I have come to understand that all of witchcraft and summoning and all of this stuff comes from, you know, in the pyramid shape, and there are like forces of nature, right? So is it demonic to actually work with nature and try, you know what I mean? Because it's like, we build houses, that's kind of working with and against nature, right? And our whole existence here on the planet is kind of man dominating nature and using that stuff. So I am still very open to exploring ideas like, is there any such thing as good witchcraft? And is it possible that people who think that they're in resonance with God and even with Jesus and tapping into these things and using witchcraft only for the power of good to help others, is it possible that that's not a real thing, that that's actually somehow doing the devil's bidding, even if you think that you're on Jesus's side? Like, I don't know, but those are the types of questions that really fascinate me, and I love to go into in depth. So I have someone in mind, actually, I want to bring on the show and talk about that, possibly next week. But all of these concepts are fascinating to me, and I really am interested and intrigued in what Altiyan is saying here, and how he's presenting the entire world of, you know, there's God, Jesus, and God-given powers, and then that, you know, and then there's mankind's don't quest for power. The real reward is in the afterlife, and that's the Christian way. And then there's this other way that we can do stuff, and if you do stuff, you're all of a sudden on Satan's side of the thing. And so I want to hear more about that. So let's keep continuing. We're still going today. We got a ways to go. So let's see where this is going. This is just getting deeper and more fascinating to me the more he goes into it. And so I hope that makes sense where I'm coming from. And I also want to be really transparent at times about my own journey towards making sense of this material and integrating it into kind of my life of putting Jesus first at the top, okay? So like, there's a pyramid, like, that's not going to be Lucifer at the top for me. It's going to be Jesus and a cross right at the top of the pyramid, right? But let's see, let's learn what we're learning here. I will shut up now.
Justin Timberlake here is also referring to magic in this cover art, with the all-seeing eye looking through the number of their god. Magic. Magic is a much smoother and more acceptable word than witchcraft, that other word.
I keep stopping, but I showed you Justin Timberlake's video, or just a screenshot from it last week, and I think I might have shown a little bit of a clip from it, and I think that it got censored by Sony possibly, and then I said, look, I'm just doing a news show and it's fair use, and I got a note from Facebook today that somebody had made a copyright strike against me last week and they removed it because I contested it and said, look, this is fair use. I'm telling a story for newsworthy and commentary purposes, and that's covered by the fair use doctrine, and I found out that they unblocked it. I think it might have been the JT video where he's talking about supplies, and he's basically showing a post-apocalyptic world where everything behind him is on fire and is blown up, and it looks like he's talking about the fact that he's got this secret underground bunker, but he also has these post-apocalyptic children kind of dancing around him unexplainedly. So it's a very weird video. And then I showed you that with Madonna's video where she had her backup dancers in gas masks, and she did this wind-blowing thing where everybody fell and dropped dead, and she's saying that not everybody's going to the future and not everybody is coming from the past. So they're all Freemasons and 666ers and head and hand people and all that stuff. So it's sad though, because I always really liked JT, but there you have it.
That word still retains its ferociousness, its true character. But that word has been sterilized. That word isn't real to you anymore. You can't feel it for what it really is. Or if you do, your mind has isolated it, confined it to some small groups of unimportance scattered here and there over this diverse world. And so it's nothing to be feared or concerned about. But that's the furthest thing from the truth. Now, some witches want to say that witchcraft isn't Satanism. That's either more delusion or misdirection, as confirmed here by Anton LaVey in the Companion to the Satanic Bible, when speaking of the followers of the Witchcraft Not Satanism school. He writes very accurately that they cannot afford to admit to an affinity with anything that bears the name Satan. He knows where the power of witchcraft comes from. Now, does that mean that Justin Timberlake is a Satanist because of his symbolism and the use of his word alluding to witchcraft in his artwork? Well, yes, actually, that's correct. He is. Here's a quote from one of his songs. You want to see who else is in good company with these famous idols? Suzanne Atkins. Same sign, same religion, Satanism. Do they all have to admit it in the English language for you to believe me? Or can the symbols they use finally be enough for you? Look at what another legendary Freemason, Arthur E. Waite, states. Out of evil comes good. And the confusion of tongues gave rise to the ancient practice of Masons conversing without the use of speech. Out of evil comes good, so it's good to do evil. That's what he's saying. See, I'm trying to include you into the conversation that the Freemasons are having with each other in public via symbolism, unbeknownst to you. Listen to what famous US footballer Tom Brady said regarding his wife.
So, man, I listened to her. And right after the game, she said, see, I did a lot of work. You do your work, I do mine. She said, you're lucky you married a witch. I'm just a good witch.
Well, this is Tom Brady. And this is his wife. Both initiated into the secret society. Of course they are. Wait, she's not displaying the one-eye symbol of the Freemasons, is she? That's just art, isn't it? Well, no, it's not. She's a witch, and her husband just told you she was. Here's Steve Miller's front cover to the famous song Abracadabra. And he covers his eye, because he's a member of the one-eyed religion. And abracadabra is a legitimate word used in witchcraft. Here it is in the 100-year-old Encyclopedia of Freemasonry. Why would the word abracadabra be in the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, the fraternity that runs charities, hospitals, nursing homes, and that secretly supply us with popes, presidents, prime ministers, kings and queens, and the bulk of our entertainers? Why? You know, I really think it's time to show you what the Satanists dressed as Freemasons are going to do to you and the world to finally establish their new world, their utopia. And this is going to be the segue into that. This is my last practical example of Freemasonry's satanic roots. And then I'll close this presentation with the most shocking thing you'll see or hear. You probably won't care, but to the precious few who remain, I will send you off with the greatest and most beautiful shock of all. This is Jay-Z inside his Masonic Lodge. You could see the Masons in aprons in front of him. This is where Jay-Z takes his sick oaths of silence, kneels down in front of other men, and calls them Most Worshipful Master, an appalling title to give to a man on this planet. Jay-Z the Freemason writes songs like this. This one's called Lucifer. And in Empire State of Mind he writes, Jesus can't save you. Life starts when the church ends. Oh, but he can save you, Jay-Z. He can even wake you up just before you collide into a concrete wall doing 120 kilometers an hour. I should know. This is fellow member of the craft Alicia Keys, who sings on the track. Here she is, showing her allegiance and wearing the broken and bloody cross of Jesus Christ, the occult peace sign, pure hatred for Jesus. There is peace when your conscience has been killed, seared to sin, and you can indulge to anything. A false and temporary kind of peace, no doubt. Here's a shot of Jay-Z's clothing line, purely Masonic, The Craft. Well, this is the craft he's referring to. This is him with well-known witch Marina Abramovich, also showing her sign of allegiance to Freemasonry. Now here we go. Here's Jay-Z wearing a most revealing top and the dead giveaway that you need to see behind the curtain of Freemasonry. Do what thou wilt. Do whatever you want. That's the adopted motto of the most notorious Satanist of the 20th century, 33rd degree Freemason, Aleister Crowley. Here is his certificate of appointment, known as the 33rd degree inscription and the double-headed eagle of Freemasonry. And here, next to his name on the certificate, including the symbol for a Grand Commander of Freemasonry, as shown in their encyclopedia. But to really confirm that he's a Freemason, here he is doing the Masonic sign of the Master of the Second Veil. Now here's a legitimate letter from Aleister. Again, the addition of his inscription of the 33rd degree, and he signs off with a symbol of the past Commander of Freemasonry. What does he write beside it? Baphomet. This Baphomet. Now listen to this man to get a clearer picture of the truth behind the secret religion of the stars and the leaders of the world. Aleister is the founder of a Luciferian church called the Ordo Templi Orientis, and he named himself the Beast 666, straight from the Bible, depicting the number of wickedness in human form. In his what's called Liber's writings, he says, "With my hawk's head, I peck at the eyes of Jesus as he hangs upon the cross." Do you see the hatred? You think they don't hate you too? Keep watching. And from the equinox, with the all-seeing eye of Freemasonry, this illustration. What does it mean? The writer himself explains. The picture is symbolic of the new eon, the new age. From the blasted stump of dogma hangs the hag with dyed and bloody hair, Christianity. There's a massive glimpse into the new world order that's coming. Keep watching. And down here, do what thou wilt is the true nature. The true nature, remember? The broad morals. There is no such thing as evil. So do what you want. Can you see the Masonic future yet? Can you see the hidden hatred that pulses through its veins? If they believe in do what thou wilt, what do you think they will do to you. And what do you think they'll do in order to build this new world? This is from a commentary on his book of the law. The Beast 666 adviseth that all children should be accustomed from infancy to witness every type of sexual act. Do what thou wilt. And what about the royal art of Freemasonry? Magic is the highest, most absolute, and most divine knowledge of natural philosophy. What a statement. The highest, most absolute and divine. Well, let's have a closer look into some of the more hidden secrets of the most divine natural philosophy known as magic. Any living being is a storehouse of energy, varying in quantity according to the size and health of the animal. At the death of the animal, this energy is liberated suddenly. The animal, therefore, should be killed within the circle, within the magic circle, so that energy that's released can be captured and directed to serve the will of the witch, male or female. This is a science, a hidden science. But now hear this, coming from a 33rd degree Freemason, and don't you forget that. For the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force, a male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most suitable sacrifice. Can you see? This is who Jay-Z is quoting on his top. This is who this Jonas brother holds in high esteem. This is who the Beatles have on their front cover as a figure they admire. No, worse, they put at the top. This is the same picture of the front cover in a mirrored form, and after some kaleidoscoping, you'll find this. Fellow Freemason Aleister Crowley sits at the top, and down the bottom there even appears the phallus with the testicles, and up here the vesica Pisces, also known as the vagina. Does this picture make more sense now? All Freemasons, yes indeed. And by the way, that's where Jay-Z got his symbol from Satanism, as portrayed here by Satanist and Freemason Aleister Crowley and by satanic church founder Anton LaVey. Does anyone still think that Freemasonry isn't Satanism in disguise? Let's finally take a peek into the royal art of Freemasonry. And this is the briefest way I can show you, from the complete book of Magic and Witchcraft. This is a practitioner's manual, not from some bogus author trying to expose witchcraft. Just so you can get it through your head that this is real, and this is protected. The writer or compiler of this God-forsaken book warns the reader that the recipes may seem disgusting, that the knowledge revealed has been forbidden, and has caused suffering and death to witches and the victims of witches. You don't think witchcraft was a serious menace in times past and present? Come with me, and I'll show you how bad this menace actually gets, as the world's most powerful and secret religion moves ever closer to fulfilling its biblical destiny, and it will. Close your eyes or not, it will fulfill its destiny. Firstly, let's connect this sick art straight to modern Freemasonry with the word abracadabra, both written in triangular form, from the Manual of Witchcraft and from the Encyclopedia of the Secret Society that your Prime Minister belongs to. And just like high-ranking Freemasons, male and female witches also drink out of a human skull. But here the practitioner drinks wine, in which they first dissolve or boil the brains or heart of an animal, before consuming it all from the human skull. In this ritual, the initiate is instructed to drink in the night at spring water, out of a skull of one that hath been slain. That's right, out of the skull of a human who's been murdered or sacrificed. Otherwise, eat a pig with a knife that slew a man. Please don't turn away. Look straight ahead and open your eyes to the planet you are on, because the real monster under your bed doesn't actually go away when you close your eyes. In other rituals of the craft, you burn a rooster while he's alive. With the use of a poisonous plant used in ointments and potions of witches, you can assure death and destruction on a victim. You want to make a female enemy sterile, or a male enemy impotent for the rest of his life? Otherwise, you can just kill them. The hand of glory is the severed hand that is dried and preserved to be used in black magic. Yes, a dead human hand. A black circle is most effective for operations of evil. The use of blood and sex in ritual was considered helpful for obtaining the necessary energy to successfully work magic or achieve mystical insight. But here's where the darkness thickens even further. Animals such as black cats or children may be sacrificed, and participants may drink the blood of the sacrifice. And just so you know that Stanley Kubrick wasn't joking, an orgy of participants sometimes follows the mass. No remorse, just science. The science of witchcraft, the royal art. And here, what's necessary for the working is the fat of young children, dead children.
Okay, we've been talking about adrenochrome on the show. I have revealed all kinds of stuff. I showed you that Turkish news report that covered adrenochrome. I got my video pulled off YouTube for that episode. But he's showing us this magic witchcraft book that's basically saying, kill the child, drink the blood, and then everybody have sex. And that way you'll totally get the energy that's released upon the death of the sacrifice. And that's some dark shit. That's some dark shit right there.
How many children do you think go missing in Australia every year? That's how many. And what about the world? Is it 1 million? Well, according to the International Centre for Missing and Exploited Children, it's 8 million children per year. Do you think that the highest, most absolute, and most divine knowledge of natural philosophy has anything to do with that? Any chance of an international secret system that is...
I just found out that over 700 children a year disappear from Disney parks all over the world. Any coincidence there?
Bolstered by initiations and degrees, and bound under the most brutal penalties that the human mind can ever devise. Do you think that has any involvement? Any chance of that? Am I saying that this Freemason has sacrificed children? No, I never said that. But did he ever even remotely mention the secret societies? Did he ever try to warn you? Educate you? No, he was under oath. Am I saying that these Freemasons have sacrificed children? No, I never said that either. But have they ever warned you about the secret society that believes that Lucifer is the savior? The society functioning right under your nose, that secret society? No, not a chance. Julia Gillard admitted she belonged to one, but that's about it because they're all under oath. So where does this ancient craft originate from? It originates from the spirit realm, from spirit beings. That's who taught mankind the royal art before civilization began. In this chapter, The Rites of Satanism and Witchcraft, the manual explains that a typical satanic Sabbath was, number one, a homage to the devil, usually performed as the osculum infami, also known as the kiss of shame, which is so shameful that we'll just put it this way. The ritual involves kissing the hindquarters of the devil, the rear. Surely this is far removed from anything to do with Freemasonry. People, the original order of the Knights Templar were found guilty of this very same obscene ritual. And where do you find the modern variant of the Knights Templars of today? I told you, in the highest degree of Freemasonry, right here. Here's a couple of them now. And what's on this Templar's head? From the Masonic Encyclopedia, remember? A symbol of the Baphomet, according to 33rd degree Aleister Crowley. And we can confirm that in the Satanic Bible. That's exactly what's hiding deep inside of Freemasonry. I'm only showing you this to show you the reality of Satanism and the demonic realm, the world you can't see.
On this earth, and in this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
Look here. The hierarchy of demons occupies a more important place in both black and white magic rituals. Both black and white. This is where the power of witchcraft comes from. And this is the reason these bizarre rituals actually function and actually work. Because after the ritual is performed on earth, its effects are carried out to their conclusion in the spirit realm by spiritual beings or demons, actual demons. The reality that is hidden from you. Because if you found out that Satan was real, then that would have to make Jesus Christ real too. And he is the one they hate. And if Jesus Christ is real, that changes everything. And this is how much they hate him. The prayer that Jesus taught his disciples is performed backwards. The high priest is sometimes naked. A prostitute assists him, and a naked virgin, who may later be deflowered, is the altar. Everything that is sacred is defiled, and everything that is filthy is honored as pure. Because of their burning hatred of Jesus Christ, just as he's hated by the fallen angels that they worship. It gets worse when you hear what they use as a substitute for the bread that Jesus broke and told his disciples to eat in remembrance of him. A wafer which initiates me with this, this, and this. Or the name of Satan may be written upon it. And this isn't even witchcraft. This is just a ceremony announcing who they love and who they hate. So is Satan real? It continues to state in the hierarchy of demons at the very top, Satanakia, whose title is the Commander-in-Chief.
That's what Bob Dylan.
What did Bob Dylan, the Freemason, call the one he made a bargain with?
Should I ask who you made the bargain with? with the chief commander.
Same title, Commander-in-Chief, Chief Commander. Are you following? But watch this. In case the darkness is getting a little too thick and encompassing for you, let's shine a little light. The true light that only the Gospels can supply. Speaking to us humans and revealing something about Satan, the Gospels state, you follow the spirit of the age in this world system as dominated by the commander of the spiritual powers of the air. Satan, the god of this world, the commander. You still think the Gospels are wrong or fake? See, Satanists know that the spirits also live in the air, just as the Gospels reveal. You can summon any of these demonic spirits by name if you possess the royal art. Who do you think this figure on the front cover represents? A magician who is inadequately prepared and cannot attain his desires may seek the aid of Satan. That's who this is. Now that you know, hopefully for a fact, that these are at the top of the human food chain. Do you think they'd be fooling around with stupid fairy tales? No, witchcraft and Satanism is absolutely real, hence their earthly power. This demon here, fifth in the pyramid structure, holds the title of Inspector General. And what's the title of the highest degree in Freemasonry, who exists in every local lodge in every suburb, a suburb near you? Inspector General. Same title as the living demon. Do you believe me now? You can even conjure Lucifer himself, or be Beelzebub, who the Gospels call the Prince of the Devils. Both of whom are listed as superior spirits in this book of witchcraft and magic. I can show you so much more from this disgusting book, but I'll cut it off here with the seal of Saturn. A demonic sigil from the complete book of magic and witchcraft.
Wow.
And this is his seal.
That's the Freemasonry symbol.
Can you see? Do you see? This is the society that lives amongst you, above you.
Unreal.
The one-eyed religion of Freemasonry, hidden right in front of those who have their eyes wide shut.
Unreal.
I'm going to now show you what that world that they are building from the ashes of the one you're currently living in looks like.
Okay. So this is where I'm going to hold it off today, because it's 3.5 hours. It's 5.5 hour total presentation. We have 2 more days to go. That means that tomorrow I can show an hour, maybe a little bit more, and Friday we can finish it and then have the Q&A. Just extraordinary. That's Miles. So funny. He's wearing black and white outfit, right? So does that mean that he's secretly throwing signs and he's secretly showing that he's like the checkerboard himself? It's very interesting. I have been in contact with Altiyan through email. I haven't sat down and had the chance to talk with him really face to face. I only know him from watching this video a couple times and from our email exchange. And he comes across very authentic to me, very sincere. And that's really all I can say so far. And so what did we do today? We just went deeper and deeper into the, and let me cut over here, and we're doing our deep dive. So I got my little deep dive thing going on. Oh, is it too pixelated? I didn't set up all the extra ancillary lights today, so hopefully that looks all right. We went deeper today into, so first day we learned the main hand signs. Yesterday, and that was a Freemasonry. Yesterday, we learned that a lot of those hand signs have straight up satanic meanings, primarily the 666 hand sign, and the all-seeing eye becomes the all-seeing eye of Baphomet, and the different tattoos that like J.K. Rowling's has, and what's her name? That was Anthony Bourdain's girlfriend, is doing the Baphomet pose, and how everything is really coming back to Satan and Lucifer. Today, I thought we were going to reveal the New World Order plan, but it sounds like that's where we're going to start tomorrow, and tomorrow's going to be a glimpse of this dark future that they want to unleash for us, and that is in the process of being unleashed. And today we went deeper into the connections between Freemasonry and Satanism, and looking at the signs and the symbols, and also looking at quotes from books and pull quotes that he pulled to show Freemasons and Satanists talking to each other at the highest levels, acknowledging that they speak to each other not in words, but in signs and symbology. And so he's making a meticulous case that this is really truly not only a secret society, but one doing secret language with a secret agenda and secret signs, and that they're all part of it and we are not a part of it, okay? And so, man, it's just crazy, right? So who do we have here? We got Melissa here. What is up, Melissa? So yeah, so I'm not going to get into that right now, into how we end it, because first of all, I'm not sure that we can, and it doesn't look like there's really any stopping what is happening. It's all the world leaders, it's all the politicians, it's all the celebrities, it's all the influencers. So there's only one way out, okay? And you did ask for that, and so I will end the show and kind of talk about that. The way out, as I see it, is the gospel of Jesus Christ, and it is actually coming into personal relationship with God and getting away from all of the false ideas and false thought forms that we might have been holding all through the years, even with the best intentions. Okay, so for me, it all started to change when I picked up the book and started reading for myself, okay? And I recommend the Book of John Saint, okay? So there's a few things called John in the New Testament. There's John 1, 2, 3. Those are letters that John wrote. But then there's the Book of John, and it'll probably say Saint in parentheses, or say the Book of John, comma, Saint. That's the one I'm talking about. So there's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So you want to read the Book of John. Even though it comes last, I say read it first, because of the language and the way that it's written is very accessible. For me, it was anyway. And then reading it out loud becomes really important, because your voice becomes the instrument through which God's word comes out. And then your own voice is speaking God's word, and your ears are hearing God's word be spoken through your own voice. And completing that circuit with the book and you're reading God's word is putting you in direct relationship with God and direct relationship with Jesus Christ. And if you don't do that, then that direct relationship is not existing. And so I always had this different feeling, you know, growing up as a Jew and then being a yogi, and yoga sciences and philosophy and practices really helping me heal through very dark times of pain and, you know, drug dependence and like a lot of self-loathing issues and a lot of like physical, spiritual, and mental pain that I had to kind of peel off layer by layer by layer. And you know, that's why I'm going to speak with a lot of love for the yoga philosophy and the yoga community and a lot of the practices that are considered pagan practices according to the Bible. I'm starting to look at those possibly with new eyes. I'm not like bringing down judgment. It's not for me to judge, right? I'm just an instrument and I'm looking on discovery. But what I learned today and through this part of the video with Altiyan is very interesting, that there is God and Jesus and the light of the world that is the true everlasting light that speaks of the afterlife and eternity in the heavenly realms with God and Jesus. And then there's the earthly power that's all structured with the all-seeing eye and the pyramid energy and the demons and the fallen angels and those things you can summon to kind of get those energies and those spirits to help you. And, you know, I've always like had prayers to my angels and spirit guides. And like, I never thought that those were instruments of Satan. Do you see what I'm saying? And if any angel or spirit guide, quote unquote, has ever helped me get from a darker place to a lighter place, meaning a place where I felt like I was hurting myself to a place where I feel like I'm more healthy and treating myself better, and that puts me in a better place to live my life and be good to others, and that brings me to a better place, like the hierarchy of needs. As the lower needs get met, the higher needs can get met and be sought after. But I was talking to God, you know, early on in my relationship with Jesus, and this is a book that I'm going to share with you guys at some point in the future, but this was a conversation I had with God where I took an empty notebook and I had some really fundamental questions for God about Jesus and about my discussing these types of things on the air and stuff like that. And I ended up asking questions and sitting and breathing quiet and then listening for inspiration and then writing whatever was coming to mind and then reading back what basically God was telling me to do. And a lot of it was references to biblical things that I hadn't read yet, that I had to go talk to my friend, and he was like, oh, that sounds like it's coming from blah, blah, blah. And then we went and looked it up, and then I was able to read those chapters, and I realized like God has a very specific way of speaking with us when we want his guidance, and his word is set forth in the Bible and in the different books of the Bible, in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And if we ask for guidance and we sit and we learn to listen, we're going to be guided in those directions. So I was guided to basically look for validation of things that I believe to be true in the book. And if I can find them referenced or validated in there, then I can kind of rest easy that I did not believe in a false teaching. But if I find something in there that directly contradicts something that I have believed and even relied on as being true, then I have to be open to exploring the possibility that maybe I was having a false belief, and possibly even summoning some spirit that, even if I thought was doing good, might actually somehow be serving the forces of darkness. And that's such a weird concept, but it goes into my view of the universe as a Mobius strip, which is like this figure 8 thing that doesn't have an outside and an inside, and it just keeps going like this. And so there's irony in there, and there's realizing things that you thought were right could be wrong, and vice versa. And of course, it seems like the Luciferians and the Satanists use that type of logic to twist everything and be like, well, out of evil comes good, so therefore it's good to do evil. Like, No, I don't believe that at all. And I don't believe that God believes that either. So, since I don't know everything and I'm just a human, right? And you probably don't know everything, God is the only one who knows everything. And so we keep coming back to the gospel, because when we don't know, our minds are going to be filled with whatever they're filled with. What I've been realizing lately is that the more I read of the good book, there's a reason they call it the good book, there's a lot of good stuff in there, and it fills our head with God's word and God's desires for us, and specifically the story about Jesus, okay? So like me as a Jew and as a yogi, I always was told and taught and believed that Jesus was a great prophet and a great teacher, but he wasn't God. And, you know, God is God and Jesus is Jesus. And then Jesus himself is saying, you know, I'm not speaking my own words, I'm speaking my Father's words. And when I speak, or when I say this, it's not me speaking, but it's my Father speaking. So even Jesus is making reference to the fact that he is not God, and yet God gives him the word and allows him to manifest all the healing powers and all of this stuff. And so therefore, Jesus is Lord, and Jesus is called God, but the Jews will deny it because they say God isn't a person. And then God comes and says, you know, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased, after Jesus is baptized by John the Baptist. Apparently they hear the word come from God in heaven, and like a voice comes out of the sky and says, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. And so if you believe that God ever spoke out of the clouds with actual voices that many people can hear, that's one thing. Another thing is, he recognizes Jesus as his son, and then Jesus is always referring to God as the Father, and my Father, right? And somehow then it gets said that Jesus is God, okay? So there's a lot there, and then there's, not to mention, the Holy Spirit and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of visualization and symbology that may or may not make sense to people, and I'm not here to fill in all the blanks for everyone or claim that I understand it all either, but the way I understand it right now, okay, is that God created the whole universe, including everyone in it, and he created mankind, and he gifted us with free will by making us in his image. That's kind of like a hologram, okay? So we technically are a kind of weakened copy of God, but kind of an exact copy. So like, we theoretically have all the powers to create and to come up with stuff out and make stuff out of nothing, but we are ourselves a creation of God, and therefore we're just like a mere shadow or a reflection. So any angel who likens himself to God, like Lucifer, would be deluded, right? And then if you look at the books, like from Anton LaFey, the guy who was the head Satanist of the Satanic Church, and he writes these books, and if you look at the book covers, it all looks like those smarmy kind of magicians with the goatee and the kind of weird wink because he's got the one eye, and it's like, that's what God looks like, some smarmy kind of sleazy magician that didn't wash his hair, and you know, like, that's who they want to worship. Like, it's so odd, right, that you look at that and you consider that to be light, and the fact that it's like darkness is light and evil is actually good. So it does explain a lot about the twisted nature of reality that we seem to be living in, where it's like, well, what about all the people in power? If they really cared about saving people and helping children and all that, a lot of this stuff wouldn't be going on. And we're like, okay, now it makes perfect sense. Not only do they not care about fixing it, they're actively participating in creating it. And in the multiple layers of deception, like the Freemason and the false humility, where they have the lower levels of their charitable organizations, and like Disney has all their theme parks, but then they have the tunnels underground, and reportedly they have cages underground, and they're not just having employees walk around the park underground. That's where they're trafficking all the children. There are so many layers of deception all over the world that we see, that the only answer is in individually cultivating your own relationship with God through Jesus Christ and saving your own eternal soul. Okay, so you choose what's more important to you, and this goes back to that thing, you know, he who's not for me is against me, and anyone who's not with me is against me. If you want to live in this world and just be all about this world and be idolized and be put on the magazines, be able to do those, you know, things, and then that gets you like on more magazines, and then you get a show, and then you get all this stuff, and then you do the hidden hand, and then you know what I mean? It's like, if that's what you want to be about, you want to go to those clubs and go to those ritual sacrifices and those orgies and stuff at the top levels, and, you know, get the pins with the joking stuff on it, and you're in on the secret and you're in on the joke, at the cost of your eternal soul. So you have someone like Katy Perry, who literally said, I sold my soul to the devil. And then you have people like Brad Pitt and like, I forgot the other guy who just was like all out Satanism. Satan is the guy I worship. If you want to sell your eternal soul, do you believe in eternity? Do you even believe in eternity? Because if somebody said to you, hey, I'll give you whatever you want for the next 100 years, and then after that, you're with me, and I could do whatever I want with you for the rest of eternity. And you're like, yeah, okay, it sounds like a fair deal. I mean, what kind of a moron? Do you believe in eternity? Do you know that eternity is a lot longer than 100 years? Like, what could possibly, if you know that something comes after this, but you don't know what it is, how could you possibly trade what you can't even see, but you know it's there? Because if you believe in Satan, if you believe in Lucifer, then you believe in eternal spirits. Duh, right? So if you believe in that, you clearly believe that there is a non-physical world. You're conjuring non-physical spirits into the physical realm. You clearly believe that that stuff exists. So now you are obviously choosing to unbelieve that the God of true light and eternity and heaven exists. So you're believing in the darkness of eternity, but you're not believing in the light of eternity. And like, what's that all about, right? And if you believe in the darkness and you believe that there's somebody on the other side that is invisible, but you can conjure the power and bring it into the physical, and then you can get all this power here. If you believe that and you practice that in and of itself, then you believe that there is an eternity. And so what do you think is going to happen to your soul when your body is done and you realize that, like, wow, that 100 years went really fast. It seemed like I was right in the middle of all the adulation of all of these people, but now all those people are gone, and it's just me and my little piddly eternal soul in this devil's hands that, like, is going to be laughing at me and tormenting me now for the rest of my life internally, telling me how stupid I was to trade my eternal existence for a couple of piddly years of like some magazine covers. Like, how stupid are all these people? You can have all the power in the world, in the whole world, for 100 years. Woohoo! Then you live for eternity in hell and torment, and you realize, like, you sold your soul to the devil. Like, if you think it's a joke, then how do you practice the stuff to begin with and get the success that you're getting? You obviously know it's not a joke, and you sold your soul to the devil? Are you fucking crazy? Okay, Katie and all of you. So that's where we're at, you guys. Like, I love you guys for being here. I'm just absolutely astounded. And when you start to unpack the stuff, am I right or am I right? When you start to unpack the stuff from the perspective of, like, okay, let's say I'm a celebrity and I want to be famous and rich. Will I make this bargain? And you start to unpack it like I just did over there. How do you add it up and say it's worth it? I mean, I guess it's like you don't know what's on the other side, and somehow you get to the other side and be like, haha, you could have had everything, But you gave it up for this idea that you wanted to be good, and now you're just done, and you won't have anything. It's like, I don't know if they believe that, because there's obviously an eternity after that. So is it nothingness, or is it heavenly bliss, or is it eternal torment? And like the thing is, and the reason why I think they hate God, and they hate Jesus, and they hate Christians, is because we are having the leap of faith to be like, yeah, take all your power and take all your glory. I will wait and give all the glory to God, and I'll take that bet on eternity and peace and bliss and heavenly bliss. And you guys pick the torment and the eternal torment, and like, let's touch base on the other side and see who made the better deal. That's where I'm leaving it today. Okay, guys? So this is Evan J signing off for the Evan J live stream. 3 days out of 5 into our deep dive into Altiyan Childs' expose of Freemasonry and Satanism, the secret religion that controls everything in the entire world. And tomorrow we'll pick it up right where we left off, and we'll keep going through this. Okay, guys? Thanks for being with me today. I look forward to seeing you in the morrow. This is Evan J.